Podcast Studios. This is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Hey now.
Hello, all.
How are you, Kat?
Great. How are you?
Good. We were off yesterday, back today, and ready to go with what's going to be an exciting week here at Kat. It is the final few days of spring, even though it feels like summer.
Totally.
No matter where you are in the world, I think you're probably experiencing heat right now. In southern Ontario, it's really hot. Like 33 Celsius, feeling 42 with the humidity. Although yesterday we didn't get anywhere close to what they said. Did you get a chance to go outside at all yesterday?
Yeah, I was outside for a while.
It wasn't too bad. For the next couple of days, hot. That's just a little earlier than we're used to it. Usually these are end of July temperatures. But like I said, Thursday is the first day of summer. And then Friday, we've got the strawberry full moon. The full moon closest to the summer solstice is the big one.
Fun.
The one that we're going to see Friday is going to be one of those full moons that looks massive. So if you're an amateur photographer or you'd like to be, this is the landscape for you coming later on this week. How was your daughter's birthday before we move on?
Daughter's birthday was really good. It ended up being great. She had a great yes day, so I had to say yes to everything. Although I did end up having to say no one time out of a dangerous situation that could happen.
Dangerous?
Oh, yeah. I mean, silly little thing. But yeah, it was
She
great.
wanted to drive? She wanted to drive your car,
she wanted to drive my car.
Wow.
I was like, no. That's where I have to. It's
You're
illegal.
7.
You can't do that. You can't do that. But yeah, it was fabulous. Thank you. I had a lovely weekend.
Okay, so today there's a lot to cover on this episode of After 9, and we will. We're going to start off here with a little bit of news about your summer travel plans. When everybody is broke and people are feeling pinched and there's just not a lot of money to go around, the major airlines have boosted the cost of flying this summer. There's been a 14% jump on average in flight costs within Canada over July, August, and September.
Wow.
What are they thinking? Well, then again, I guess what is everybody thinking? Seems like everybody's raising prices for whatever reason, and the folks here don't have the money for it.
Well, I wonder if that's why the prices are being raised, though. Like, I wonder, are there less people flying this summer? Let's say, for example, you have vacation. Maybe you're thinking about flying somewhere. You look at the price, you go, ooh, maybe not. But they're trying to make up for the people who aren't and are taking those road trips and stuff. I mean, there could be something to that. I don't know.
What I'm wondering here is how much of it is not necessarily that the airlines have raised the cost of their flight. It's just the disappearing smaller airlines, the regional ones, the cheaper ones, the discount ones.
Yeah.
As they go away, there's less cheaper fares out there, which would bring up the average cost for sure. But I still hate the fact that we are losing airlines like crazy. The lack of flights coming out of Hamilton, and it's very, very frustrating.
The tough part is it's like you don't have any other way. You know what I mean? It's not like there are a ton. Like you said, there's less and less airlines. We don't have a say in it. We don't have power or control in what they price these things at. It's either you take the flight at this price or you don't. You know, that's the option.
Mutual friend of ours was just over in the UK, back now, and explaining to us how cheap it is to fly within Europe. And I'd known that for a while, but I mean, I didn't know how good it was at this time of year. He was talking to folks over in the UK that were jetting off to Barcelona for the weekend, that were heading off to Rome for the weekend for 150 euros return.
Yeah. I mean, incredible.
That's $100 and something bucks each way.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
We can't even fly to our own country without it being like a significant amount of money.
And how sad is that?
It's sad.
We should be able to fly from here to Winnipeg for $100 and Halifax for $100. Those not too far flights. In any case, if you were going to be flying within Canada, the prices have gone up. Flying to the States, I think you're still okay. Are people still doing that thing where they drive over the border and catch a flight within the U.S. so it's domestic to domestic?
I think some people do because it can save you money. It's not matter. It all depends on the person. Can I just say, because like to me, that's too much work. I'm not going to drive to another airport, even if it saves me a couple $100. No, I'm not, because it's going to take up like an entire day to actually get there. Like I just want to get to the fucking airport and go. But to each their own, and some people probably still do it. Yes, I think for more flight options is the key too. There's probably more direct flight options, right? If you're planning to go to the States from an airport in the U.S. to there.
You can get from just about anywhere to just about anywhere.
Yeah.
There are so many hubs in America, whereas here, what do we got? Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and that's really about
Not
it.
a lot of direct situations happening, and that doesn't make me happy.
We have an urgent situation unfolding here, Kat. The LCBO is now asking the union that represents about 10,000 LCBO workers to agree to a third-party mediator joining their bargaining sessions. This comes after 97% of LCBO participating employees voted in favor of a strike mandate. That strike would begin in or around the 30th of June. Oh, you know what that's going to do? Really screw up your Canada Day weekend plans.
You know what's so funny? Okay, this is a weird one for me because we know that that soon in convenience stores they're going to be able to sell beer, wine, coolers, right? That's
Yep.
what it is, beer, wine, coolers. It's not happening yet, but we know it's going to happen. So the people who work at the LCBO understandably are like, what the fuck what about us, right? But the crazy part is, so if let's say this strike happens and the LCBO, you can't get to them, there's other ways to get the booze.
Yes.
You can go and get wine. Maybe liquor would be the hardest one, right? But you can go and get wine and you can go and get beer. And I think that's the point of why they're striking is because they're worried about like job security because it's everywhere. But the truth is if you shut down the LCBO, I'll still be able to figure out what to do. It might not be the best selection. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be as convenient. Absolutely. But I can still get it.
I don't find the LCBO convenient or helpful at all. And if you're an employee at the LCBO, sorry, no disrespect to you. I just have a fundamental problem with the way shit's getting run here in that there's a couple of people that determine which types of tequila are going to be on the shelves, which types of whiskey are going to be on the shelves. I think every store should have an independent person in there who lives in the community and can say, hey, you know what? Seems like people that come into this LCBO really like a lot of Napa Merlot. So we're going to stock some more Napa Merlot. And maybe in another part of Ontario, those people don't really care about wine at all. Maybe they're white wine drinkers and they want to stock more variety on that. That's the way things should run instead of this standard uniform approach across Ontario. Things are going to change, no doubt, once beer and whatever, fuck, I can't even keep track of it. It's beer, wine, and spirit, and the cans.
And like the coolers and ciders and things like that. Cooler ciders.
I mean,
seltzers.
People still want spirits. There's always going to be a market for a bottle of Crown or a bottle of vodka, a bottle of Jack. I get that. So, yeah, we still need a place to sell those. It's going to be more convenient, though, when this stuff is available in stores. And frankly, I don't know if the union is doing themselves any favors here by trying to walk off the job and just right before it becomes available everywhere else, piss everybody off on the way out the door.
See,
I don't understand it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I don't think they're doing themselves any favors. That's a good way to put it. Because I think, if anything, it will just enlighten people to realize, like, soon enough, we're going to get it here. Like, who cares? I think that there's also there's a lot less people drinking alcohol than there used to be.
Yes, there is.
You know, there really is.
I've noticed that too.
There really is. I know some people who do like the mushroom fucking things, edibles, or maybe it's the weed edibles over drinking. I think that I wonder if they're seeing that as well.
Can you get mushroom edibles?
I don't know if they're legal,
them.
but I can tell you, yes, you can.
Really?
If you want to try some, I know someone. It's not me, but I'll give you a connection.
Just the other day, they raided Fun Guys again.
I think it's from like those kinds of places that you grab them before they get. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that people are doing them.
It does seem like mushrooms are going to be the next one to be legalized, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, if we go down that road, all well and good, fine. I don't know much about it, but I'm curious. I just don't know how it works. Like, I hear people talking about microblading, and do I have to cut the perfect small portion? Do they do it? I don't know how it works.
So here's the way it was described to me by the person who offered me some this past weekend. She said, here you go. Try one. Trust me. And then she told me how much. Like, do you know what? Just start with a square, but at this point I can do 3 and it's fine. And I said, okay, but what happens to you? Because like for me, I know, like, I'm not that into edibles, like weed edibles, I mean. They're okay. I don't mind them now and again for sure. But otherwise, like, meh. So I'm like, so why should I try this over them? She goes, they're better. She goes, how do I put this? They make colors brighter. I was like, wow, that's the most high thing you've ever fucking said to me in your life. They make colors brighter. They just make things look clearer. They clear your mind.
Was she
like,
high when she was telling you this?
Maybe. I didn't ask. I certainly didn't ask for any sort of form of testing to check. But I was like, they make colors brighter and make you think clearer. Okay, but I think I don't know. I've never done it before. But I feel like one trip for one person might be a different thing for another person. As long as you're careful with how much you take, for sure. But anyway, I might try it just because why not try it? Right?
But
I haven't yet.
Will you wait till the day when Justin Trudeau comes out and says, surprise, it's legal?
I don't need him to fucking tell me what to do.
Well, I mean, I did with the weed. I hadn't tried weed until after it was legal. And then I was like, okay, it says here I can do it, so I'm gonna.
No, I don't think that I would wait if I really wanted to try it.
Huh. By the way, the cannabis edibles don't do anything for me. Not the stuff you buy in regular stores. I can pop those things like popcorn and nothing. Yeah.
Wow.
I
I got to be careful with them.
I understand the complaints now from people who were users long before it became like regulated and available in stores when they say it's not strong enough. Yeah, certain things just have no effect on me.
Interesting.
Let's keep going here, though, because I've got two things in the tech area. We'll start off in America, where the U.S. Surgeon General apparently hasn't learned from history and now wants to put warning labels on social media.
Warning labels on social. All right.
The Surgeon General says it's time to require a warning label on social media platforms stating that social media is associated with significant mental health harms for adolescents. He says it may seem silly, but a warning label would regularly remind both parents and kids that social media has not been proven safe, and there is data that shows the warnings, like the ones on cigarettes, have been effective. Well, I'm going to tell you that it was not effective on smokers themselves. And when it comes to social media, I would think kids who these are aimed at would be the least likely to sit and take the time to pay attention to a warning label.
Where's the label? So like, we're not talking about a product where you're picking it up off a shelf. So where is the warning?
You'll get like a pop-up or a flash screen or something when you try and go to, say you go to load up your TikTok account. Something's going to have to pop up with a warning label that you'll have to close before you can start scrolling.
Okay.
Why do they waste their time on this shit?
I don't know if that'll do it.
Do they feel better about themselves that they do this? Or can they just, we did something, so it's fine?
They checked a box. Yes, that's how I feel about it.
But I mean, this is the Surgeon General, and health and well-being is their purview. Mm-hmm. When you read a statement like, social media has not been proven safe, well, you're the Surgeon General. Do something about it. Put a warning label on it is not going to deter very many people. Now, if you're that concerned, put your money where your mouth is and ban it and see what happens.
Right.
I don't understand why we're just pussyfooting around this stuff. If there's a serious concern here, and I mean a serious concern, then do something about it. If there's not, government needs to get the hell out of our lives. Why do you need a pop-up every time you just want to check a few reels on Instagram?
Yeah. Like I said, it's just to check a box. I agree with you. If you're going to do something, do something. Otherwise, just stop. Stop pretending like you give a fuck.
Now, the other piece is here in Canada. The Prime Minister will not say whether AI companies should be paying Canadian news publishers for content that their chatbots are openly using. The PM was asked on a New York Times podcast if AI services should be included in Trudeau's Online News Act, which requires the tech companies to negotiate licensing agreements with news publishers to use their content. But when asked specifically about whether AI should face that, Trudeau ducked the question, saying the onus is on the platforms to act responsibly. Okay, I don't know why it wasn't on Facebook, Instagram, X, and the other ones to act responsibly, and we just take their word for it. But it seems like AI is going to be allowed to do this. For those who don't understand what's going on, we have this Online News Act now, and that's part of the reason that you still can't get news on Facebook. The tech giants hate this. They provided the platform, like we'll use Facebook, for example. So they've created this platform. Go ahead and use it. It's free. You might see some ads. And then people started doing things like sharing news links. Well, the link would link to, say, global news. Here's a story about the LCBO strike on Canada Day. People would click that. And even though that was very beneficial for the news organizations because they got hits, which they then monetize, the government stepped in and said, that's not fair that social media companies are stealing that content. So I always had a problem with them calling it content. I don't think a link is content. I don't think you're stealing anybody's stuff. You're enabling people to see it even better. Mm-hmm. Well, the government rammed it through, and now we've got a system where some platforms still won't even allow news. Others are coming back online slowly, but they've all got to work out deals. It would make sense that if you're going to make Facebook and TikTok and all these other companies pay the news publishers, AI should too. That's constantly going through news articles and things like that to try and program itself to become a smarter version of itself in AI.
Right.
If it's using the same content, I don't see the difference here. And frankly, it's AI. These aren't even people. So I don't give a shit if they pay.
Yeah, I know. It's a strange thing. It's just convenient. It's a convenience factor to have that info our way. So I don't like where it's going because I knew this would happen with opening up a can of worms with this whole news thing to begin with. You know what I mean?
They should have left it alone.
Because then there's that, and then, it's going to be all kinds of very specific pieces of technology that give us information not from them as a source, right? I agree. Like, just leave it all alone. I don't know where it's going to go, but I don't like it.
I don't like it either. Did we ever decide on who decides what's real news and what's not news? I thought that was also supposed to be part of this. Our news czar that's going to say that's fake news and that's real.
Our czar. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I honestly like what Elon Musk has done with X. And I wish that was brought out in every social media platform. Fuck, it could even help what we were talking about previously, which is the warning label on social media, right? It could help with all of these things to have a blurb underneath, to have those cross-checkers, those czars. I don't know how X does it. Maybe you have to report for them to even get it signaled, and then they go, oh, fuck, that's not right. And for those who don't have X anymore, maybe you did have Twitter at one point, what I like about it is I could just post a photo of Scott and be like, oh, Scott Fox just announced he's running for president of the United States. I don't know, whatever. Some bullshit thing.
Maybe. They'd be fucking lucky.
So let's say I did something stupid like that, and I posted it on X. Someone could come along and report it. They're going to do their due diligence on that side, and underneath there's going to be a blurb saying, we fact-checked this. That's absolutely not accurate. That didn't happen. Now, usually that's for more prominent stories or more made up things, but there's been a lot of cases where people post photos or videos of things with completely against whatever the context is to whatever the text is in that post. That's what I think they should do with all social, like with Facebook too. They can figure out what's AI generated and what's not. Mm-hmm. Or if they're unsure, they'll say they're unsure. Like, we actually can't confirm this is real, so just know that. And you see it right when you see that post. It should be that way with Facebook. It should be that way with Instagram. It should even be that way with TikTok.
But I guess this is my problem with that system. And in a perfect world, that would be good. But when you've got people fact-checking other people, it kind of comes down to editorial. There shouldn't be any gray area when it comes to facts. But lo and behold, this society figured out a way to do it. And I'm thinking back to during COVID, for example, there were many people who said your own immune system can fight off COVID. You're good. Take vitamin D, get lots of sleep, and eat a couple oranges or whatever. There were people that fact-checked that and said, nope, that is bogus information because we all know the only way to treat it is to get vaccinated. Well, no, I mean, we know that vitamin D is good for you. It doesn't do any harm. We know that your immune system can handle COVID. And turns out after it was all said and done and the dust settled, we realized many of those people who suggested things like ivermectin and things like that were actually right, yet they were labeled fake news at the time because there was such a big push on to get vaccines in. So I don't know who I trust to be like a news czar and say what is true and what isn't.
I don't know either, but I find that at least having a label on it, knowing that they don't know that as a fact, is important. That way you can do what you want with that info. You don't have to say, oh, that's 100% accurate. If it's not, then we know.
Okay, let's go to... Do you think people in Calgary should get a rebate on their property taxes? Because they're now into the second week of this freaking water main thing, and they expect the crisis to last. Are you ready? Another 5 weeks. The Calgary Chamber of Commerce president raising concerns about how that may impact the Calgary Stampede now, which is only 3 weeks away. The mayor of Calgary says she has signed the paperwork to declare an emergency following the investigation of the broken pipe, which uncovered 5 more in serious need of repairs.
Okay, I don't know. I don't do that for a living, okay? So I don't know. How did they not realize until now that, like, oh, fuck, we have a lot of shit we got to do and repair under here?
Great question. Well, part of the problem is we elect governments and they'll come in and they'll be in power for, say, 4 years, in theory. And staff will tell them, hey, listen, we've got some infrastructure problems here and we got to fix up the pipes underground. Some mayors or leaders might say, oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's drop what we're doing. It's going to suck. We got to rip up the road, but let's make sure the water main is fixed. Others may have other priorities for the money and think, it's underground, it'll be fine, let the next person deal with it. Well, it just got to a point where the next person's got to deal with it. I just don't understand how that one pipe has taken one of the major cities basically off the grid, and now people are... Every night, the mayor's on the news telling people how much fucking water they used and telling them they got to cut back.
Yeah.
If you take a 10-minute shower, it's got to be 5. If you do 2 loads of laundry a day, it's got to be 1. Make sure all the loads are full. And they're going on and on and on. And I'm thinking, people are paying thousands of dollars to live in that city in property taxes. They don't deserve this shit.
They got to get a break. Is there a boil water advisory as well?
In the areas right around the pipe, there is.
Right there. Yeah, I mean, hey, anything like that, that's something that could have if we know that this is something that could have been managed or dealt with better, it's not the residents' problems, or it's not their fault anyway. Now they have to deal with the consequences of it. But yes, they should get a break of some kind. I totally everybody gets a horse.
What? Apparently, the Calgary Stampede is going to be allowed to proceed because they looked back in previous years and realized the Stampede doesn't use a lot of water.
Oh, no, not of that variety. Cut water.
Drinking a shit ton of beer, but not a lot of water. All right. We're getting conflicting information about what might or might not be in that intelligence report that we've now heard so much about, yet so little about. The Green Party leader, Elizabeth May, says none of the current MPs accused of wittingly engaging in foreign interference did so with malice or traitorous intentions. Instead, she said they made dumb, unethical, foolish mistakes. She says the members identified should have asked more questions when offered help in their nomination races from outsiders. The identities of the MPs remains unknown 2 weeks after the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians released a heavily redacted report based on thousands of intelligence documents about foreign interference. In other words, Liz here says it's probably not a big deal. It wasn't treason. It was just a dumb mistake. It's a little different from what Jagmeet Singh said. He seems very concerned, and we don't know what Pierre Poilievre thinks or Justin Trudeau. I'll play just a little bit of this. It's 11 seconds long. It's a question that was asked yesterday of the Prime Minister on the CBC.
Jagmeet Singh has said that there's nobody in his caucus he needs to worry about. Can you say the same thing with comfort and clarity? Jagmeet Singh said that...
That's all it is. He actually said he was surprised to hear that Jagmeet said that, and he doesn't agree with some of the stuff. Has it occurred to anybody that we might need to know what's going on here? We still don't even know what the accusation is. For all we know, these people could have just, somebody came to them and said, hey, I want to donate to your campaign, and I've got a couple other people that want to donate as well. You know, do you think you guys would take our donation and maybe we can be friends or have dinner or get to know you or something? And maybe they took some campaign money that they shouldn't have taken, and maybe it was organized. Maybe it's that. That's bad, but it's not horrible. Now, if they were selling nuclear secrets to China or India or something like that, that's a much bigger deal.
Sounds bad.
Somebody should let us know what is going on. This is crazy. Somebody name names, for God's sake. But that might segue perfectly into this. Almost 40% of us actively avoid the news now because it's too stressful, Kat.
It is stressful. Now, that said, I think there's always going to be a percentage of the population that avoids the news because it's stressful. So what makes this more so than other times? Is it the economy that we find ourselves in for the most part? Is it wars? Is it not being able to get along?
I think it's all of the above.
Things?
39% of people worldwide say they sometimes or often avoid reading or watching the news. That's up from 29% in 2017, the last time they did the numbers. Experts think all the sad news we've seen out of, they say, Ukraine and the Middle East are the biggest factors.
Yeah.
And we're burnt out by constant updates on the pandemic. Only 46% say they're very or extremely interested in the news now. That's down from 63%. Well, that's a pretty damning indictment of the news industry.
It certainly is.
From 63% down to 46%.
I do find myself, like, for me, like, local news, no problem. I think it's important to keep in touch with whatever's happening around you. I think that that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
That's the stuff like we do on the radio,
Yeah.
right? Local shit.
Like, I think that stuff's, like, that's important. I think we should all know what's up. Otherwise, though, I wouldn't click that world tab as much. And I know we have some great reporters at Global, for example, at our parent company that are doing some amazing reports across the world. But sometimes you feel helpless and it puts you in a different space than you want to be in. So I don't blame people for just avoiding that section because they don't want to see the doom and gloom, which most of the time, that's what it is. Like, until they start putting, like, really fun stories from around the world, and we know that those aren't always important stories, right? Until then, I kind of get why people avoid it.
See, we do stories a little differently on the radio and in the pod because we look for stories that aren't necessarily the ones that are getting talked about the most, but the ones that we think can be the most interesting. For example, I'll give you an example of one of the stories we did today on the radio show. Mm-hmm. Woman has just called off her wedding. Just called it off. She called it off because the father of her 3 kids, whom is the love of her life, and she says she was so ready to marry this guy. There wasn't a problem with money. They got along great. They had a beautiful family. Everything was good. Until her mom got diagnosed with cancer. Talking to mom wanted to give up the news, spill the tea. Before the worst happens, it's stage 4 cancer, by the way. It doesn't look good for her necessarily. So she's trying to get right with God. She's telling the truth. She told the kid, hey, by the way, just so you know, I'm not actually your mom. You were adopted. Imagine finding that out. After all those years, she had no idea that she was adopted. And mom told her where to find her actual birth mom. So this woman went and contacted her birth mom. And then found out through a bizarre but completely true series of events, the man who is the father of her 3 children and her fiance, they're about to get married, is actually her brother.
But
Half brother.
oh, fuck, that's the worst day of your life.
Same mom, different dad.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yikes.
Then what do you do when you find out you're a brother fucker?
You were that's right, you were a brother fucker. You bury that by, first of all, you don't stay with the person. You don't stay together. They're fucking related. Why are you shrugging? No, there should be no fucking question. Like, we have to end this.
I didn't
And we're
want...
lucky that our kids just have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes.
I know, but I didn't want to say this on the radio because, frankly, I need the bullshit and I don't want to sit in meetings all day. But hear me out here.
Oh, no.
Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that.
Woo!
There are entire states in America where this is totally normal. No, I'm just going to say that they're already engaged. They've already done...
Yeah, that means they can back out at any time.
Okay, but they've already done everything couples do together. They've
definitely
done it.
fucked.
You can't unfuck somebody.
Numerous times.
Like, I've tried. You can't unfuck it. And...
As much as you pray.
You can pray.
Please let me unfuck them.
You can ask, why'd I do that? There's all kinds of different ways that you can get out of that. Shit.
Yeah.
But they've already done all those things. They sleep in the same room. They own a house together. They have sex regularly. They've got 3 children.
Sibling cousins, by the way.
Who are siblings and cousins. And
That's fucked up.
But they all turned out fine. So maybe the compromise here is,
No.
again, we're just going to have to power through this. We're going to have to forget what we now know for the sake of raising our family and carrying on in a life together.
No, man. You start eating something and everything seems fine, and then you realize, holy fuck, this is infested with bugs. You're just going to power through that fucking meal? No, you're not.
But there's kids involved now.
The kids will be fine. Like, I'm glad they're okay. Double check with the doctor that they're okay. And if that's the case... Praise be. Praise be. However, no, you don't stay and fuck your brother. You can't even, can you even get married where she is to your sibling? Like, well, there? Because I know it's illegal in some places, but not illegal others.
Nearest I can tell, this is a bit of a paperwork conundrum because the paperwork indicates that her actual adopted mom is her mom. Biological mom's not even on the birth certificate, which is why they never figured this out anyway.
No, and they don't do DNA tests when you get married. So it's not like they would ever really know, legally, the government, I mean. However, you still know in your mind that that's your fucking brother now. How would you ever be able to mentally get over that? Now, they are, as an update, they are not together, right?
She has said, no,
Yeah.
we're not doing this.
Yeah, that's really fucked up. I mean, I think that would be so embarrassing, not by your own fault. Do you know what I'm saying? Not her fault. Okay, this is mom's fault. Mom, you're dying of cancer. Man, we feel bad for you. However, why the fuck wouldn't you say something to her sooner, knowing that this could be any type of potential, that there's any type of potential that she could run into or fuck her brother? You kept that shit to yourself and you plan to take it to your grave until you realize, shit, I should probably say something. Not to say that she knew that man, was related for certain, because I don't know what the case is here with mom knowing or not knowing. But this is why the truth shall set you free. I've always been a fan of it. It's always good for people to know things. It's not always good for you to hide things from people. So I wouldn't be surprised if she actually has a bad relationship with her mom for the rest of her mom's days over this. I've seen this shit break up families, not because they're brother fucker or sister fuckers or anything like that, but I've seen it break up families where you keep these things secret. And years later, you lose all respect from your kids because you didn't tell them the truth. Bad. Should never do that. Feel bad for her.
What if we tell the kids, but we just agree that this is one of those family secrets that we don't discuss with anybody?
I know. And how old are the kids? Does it say how old the kids are?
I believe they're all under 10.
Yeah, see, they're too young. Like you don't want to do that. You don't want to explain to them yet, I think. Right, guys? Am I wrong? Like, I don't think that they should need to explain to the kids, but they will tell them the truth when they're old enough. And by that, maybe I mean 16, 17, 18, or I don't know, something around there, whatever. Maybe when they are adults, maybe when they're 18, be like, hey, you're an adult now. Here's the truth. That's your fucking cousin and your brother. Like, I don't know.
Again, what are the odds of this happening?
I know. Are we sure it's legit too? Sometimes people make shit up.
So I was skeptical about this too. I found it in a number of different sources that I consider fairly reliable. So
right.
I'm going to run with, for now, probably legit and good on them for making the tough decision. I just don't know that it would have been that terrible given everything that's already gone on anyway. I don't think they can do any damage now. It probably would have been okay, but you can feel free to go ahead and lambaste me. Slide into the DMs. One more thing I want to get to here. A middle-aged man who lives over in the UK is now suing Apple after his wife found a bunch of text messages that he sent to prostitutes. He says he turned to prostitutes in the last few years of his marriage, and he would text them using the texting app iMessage. But he was always careful to delete the messages so his wife didn't see them. Unfortunately for him, he only deleted them on his phone. She eventually found them on their desktop, an iMac computer, which of course syncs with your Apple accounts. She filed for divorce less than a month later and took him for all he's worth. Now he wants that money back and he's suing Apple. He thinks Apple should cover the cost of what he lost in the divorce as well as his legal bills, over $6 million. He claims he and his wife were very happily married for over 20 years.
Of course you said that, you idiot.
He called it a superb marriage. He says...
I don't think she'll agree.
He says if she'd found out he was cheating some other way, they might have been able to work through it. But seeing the texts was just too brutal of a way to find out, so she couldn't forgive him. His lawyers are even looking to make this a class action lawsuit if other men come forward to say the same thing happened to them. In other words, he deleted it, and not knowing that when you delete it, it doesn't necessarily actually delete it. It's kind of like when you delete something and it goes to the recycling bin. You've deleted it, but it's not actually gone. Similar anyway. He's arguing deleted should mean deleted. If I'm having a sneaky conversation with this hooker I'm trying to hook up with, shouldn't get back to my wife. If I delete it, it should be deleted. And it doesn't go down that way, as we all know. Does he have any sort of a case here?
I fuck around and find out, bud. I feel no sympathy for these people that try to blame anybody else but themselves for their own actions. And that's exactly what he's doing. You fucked around. She found out. She took you for all you got. Should have thought about that before you fucked around. You just found out. And by the way, it's not the first time. I mean, I personally know of people who have caught another person based on Apple devices that are all connected. The watches are ones that you gotta remember and keep in mind.
Right.
If you're gonna fuck around, because you'll find out. Men and women, by the way.
Sure.
But I don't have sympathy, Scott. I think that this lawsuit will go nowhere, and Apple better hope so, because how many other people are going to step up and be like, whoa? I mean, God, we're going to start suing fucking Facebook for how many marriages that's ended, or any form of social media, any form of apps on any phone ever. You could just sue anyone? Like, that'd be insane. I mean, don't get me wrong, dime and a dime to be fucking thrilled if that was the case.
Hello, Sandra.
Right? But it's like, to me, it's not reasonable to launch a lawsuit over this. You fucked up. That's what you've learned. Take it as a big lesson into your next relationship, should you get the pleasure of having one, and move the fuck along.
I think this could go somewhere, and I'll tell you why. Because it's certainly implied when you delete something that you've deleted it. And if it only deleted it from the local device, but it still shows up in the iMessage feed on your iMac or whatever, iPad is another one, on your watch even, that's a bit of a problem. You'd think delete means delete. And he basically took Apple at their word that when he deleted something, it was gone. So for that, the cheating aside, you're right. He did it to himself. But how he tried to cover it up, not understanding the way it worked, he might actually be able to get something out of Apple for this.
Fucking read instructions. Like, it'll like, no, it's the onus is on you 100%. In the fine print that nobody fucking reads when they accept all from Apple on any goddamn update. I bet you that's in there. When you first open your Apple device, whether it's a watch or a phone or an iPad, you know, if you've been through it, you got to scroll. Okay. He said okay to it. He said okay to terms and conditions. Every email that you ever open, you start a Rogers account, you start a Yahoo account, you start a Gmail account. Guess what? You've clicked it accept to all of the functionality of that device or of that email. Like, that's what you've done. You did say okay to it. You're just so fucking dumb, and in the moment you're trying to blame anybody else but yourself for your own actions. Don't be stupid. There's too many stupid people.
Don't be stupid. And on that, we will say thank you for listening to this episode of After 9. Have yourselves a great one, everybody. Stay cool. The auction is now open.
Yes, the auction to play golf with Scott, which is coming up July 4th, by the way, is only open until 10 a.m. on Friday, and it's energy953radio.ca. Don't be shy. I feel like people are shy off the start, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
So don't be shy. Place your bid. Honestly, like, worst case, my bid didn't go, I didn't get it. Just try.
Okay, first off, if you have a business, go ahead and expense the living shit out of this one.
Absolutely.
Write this fucker off. And all the beers you're going to buy us too. So, no, seriously, find a way to do it. And you're going to be donating money to a great cause. And we're going to go out and have a nice fun round of golf. That'll last probably 5 hours. Then if you want to stick around for the dinner afterwards, you're my guest at my table, and I'll be sitting at the head table. Some of our colleagues in media are going to be there. Rick Zamprin from 900 CHML. He does the morning show there.
Yeah.
The voice of the Ticats as well. Taz and Jim from Y108 are going to be playing in this tournament. We would love to get you out supporting this great cause, which does incredible work for children. Now, you're going to have to pay for this, but it's actually not that. I think right now it's at $300. That's pretty good.
Oh, that's very good.
So this is something, it's a splurge. It's for a great cause, and you're going to have a great time. Bid, again, go to energy953radio.ca. Click on the link for the auction. You're going to have to enter your cell phone number, and then it'll get you to create an account, and then you put in your bid. If you win, you pay. If you don't win, you don't pay anything. There you go. Easy.
Nice.
Bid it up and make some rich person pay. Have a good one, everybody. We will see you tomorrow with another After 9.
Bye, friends.